Okay, we're live on satellite. I got an audio backup. I got the streaming going. So streamers, we're gonna do the well, we got 6.5 minutes before we go radio. But I can see I can see they just popped up all of a sudden here. So I see we got Sergeant George on. I think he's in New Orleans right now. I think he left Hayward, California, and he's there for Mardi Gras. That's just the way he rolls. So oh yeah, he's vacationing in New Orleans. So hope you have a good time. Hope you're safe, George, and you don't get bogged down with too many beads or with what you have to go through in order to get the beads.
You tell Sergeant George to keep his shirt down.
Yeah, keep his shirt down. Yeah, stay off the balconies. And we got MVS in Colorado, which is where Chief Schultz is at. Well, MVS is in northwest Colorado, and it's 32 degrees right now. I think yesterday it was, if I remember correctly, 34 degrees and raining. If I'm correct on that, I think that was yesterday. So if it's 32 degrees but it's not raining, I think that you're better off personally. So anyhow. Welcome to the show, guys. We'll be starting in 5.5 minutes, the radio portion of the show, according to the MBS clock behind me. So it's all good. And we just got our LinkedIn just kicked in as well. So we're live on LinkedIn. So I think we're batting 1,000 here, guys. And I'm drinking my this is what MBS sent me. It is the Freedom Punch. It is the Black Rifle Coffee energy drink. So thank you, MBS, for the case of this stuff. I appreciate it. Wife got all excited, and I opened up, and it was, yes, it's the Freedom Punch. It's not the mango, which she likes is still the mango. She's Colombian, they like that mango stuff, so.
Well, I'll tell you, Chip, when you unveiled that package that MVS sent you.
That's right, I did that online, didn't I?
I haven't seen such media excitement since Geraldo Rivera opened up the
Jimmy Hoffa
phone vault. Jimmy Hoffa. Scintillating.
Remember when Geraldo got punched on his show and they broke his nose, and he had this huge bait? I can't remember who did it or what was going on, but he had his own show, and somebody just punched the crap out of him. It busted his nose, man. I remember him appearing after that. Remember the old Michael Douglas show and all these old. Who was the guy with the white hair? He married.
Phil Donahue.
Phil Donahue. He married the girl. That's it, or
that girl. That girl.
That's who. Yeah.
Danny Thomas's daughter.
Nobody will ever match Jerry Springer, though.
Marlo Thomas. Is that it? Marlo Thomas. Okay. Yeah. Yes. It's coming back to me now.
Yes.
Yeah, that girl. Yeah, I used to watch all that stuff, man. That was great stuff, man.
Same here.
Great time to be alive.
Yeah.
We just lost the under 40 demographic.
Too bad today's kids. They didn't grow up watching the Jetsons or the Flintstones or remember Combat with who was that guy? Vic Morrow.
Vic Morrow.
Okay. Yeah, just some great. There's been some great actors and great shows and stuff. The Carol Burnett show. Oh my gosh, was that not one of the funniest things you've ever seen in your life? You remember
Tim Conway? Tim Conway.
Yeah, those guys would get together. Tim Conway and who was the tall guy?
I forget his name, but he's funny too.
Yeah, those guys would get together with Carol on her show. I think you're right.
Yeah.
When we rub our 3 brain cells together, we can come up with the information.
We have good synergy, but something. This relates to your article about that transgender in Canada. In that article, it talked about how this person was watching all these gore type of videos and games and stuff, and when we grew up, we had family type of shows that instilled those certain values that we had ingrained in our own families and stuff, so it's really sad.
Yeah, it is. I was saying those guys, when they would get together, they would just start laughing. You're doing skits and stuff, but you realize the content's funny, but it's really funny if it affects the people that are trying to pull it off, and they just can't keep a straight face, or they just can't get their lines out because they're too busy, spitting coffee everywhere or just laughing, Yeah. So we, growing up, we had Friday night was family night at my house, so we kind of did family stuff. Go ahead, Chief Schultz. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Grossman talks about that. He wrote a whole book about the influence of media, and we grew up on Dragnet and Matt Dillon and Wyatt Earp, a bunch of good guys. And then the next generation is looking at The Wire and Training Day, and the whole perspective about law and order has shifted. And I don't want to sound like an old fart, but there are a lot of things about the old days I miss. A lot of things about the new days that I appreciate. I grew up with outdoor toilets, so I delight in the little things like hot showers and porcelain.
Porcelain.
Yes.
Chip
never got a splinter in a modern bathroom.
He's got 56 seconds. But I'll tell you, when I was working in Mexico, so on a Saturday, I signed me up for a tour, and we went to the monuments, and they took us to the agave plant. I'm sitting at a table, tortillas and beans. We eat with these group of people on this tour. And this young man and his wife and another couple are talking about how he created Grand Theft Auto. You remember the Grand Theft Auto, the game?
Yeah.
So, I'm listening to him, and I say to him, I said to him, I appreciate your talent, but I don't agree with those games. I think it instills bad mental state, and that it's okay to rape women and rob cars and so, or steal cars. We had a very interesting conversation between him and I.
Well, guys, hold that thought. Save that energy for the show. Here we go. We're 6 seconds out. Go on satellite radio. We'll be right back. All right, guys, and welcome to Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com. My name is Chip DeBlock, and I'm your host, and we're a law enforcement talk show. We're a group of law enforcement professionals to talk about today's news and issues, but we do it from a law enforcement perspective. And let me introduce the crew. Guys, if you don't mind waiting for the video portion of our show, we have Dr. Joel Schultz, retired police chief. He's in Colorado. And then we've got another retired police chief who formerly worked for the LA County Sheriff's Office, Ralph Ornelas, all the way from California. He's still there, so thanks for being on the show, gentlemen. A shout out to our sponsors. Our title sponsor is Gulls at Gulls.com, CompliantTechnologies.com, our satellite sponsor. We have Gunlearn.com, MyMedicare.live, SafeguardRecruiting.com, our streaming sponsor, and thanks to them, we're streaming to over 1 million followers right now on social media during the live show. And finally, TwoBells.com. They built our new online store at LeoRoundtable.com. Go to our website, check out the online store. You can buy cool gear like the shirt that I'm wearing, and the prices are rock bottom. I spend what you guys spend. We don't make a dime off of anything in the store. We're just trying to get our gear out there. So please check that out. Also, a shout out to Brian Burns for the Tampa Free Press at TampaFP.com. Thanks for carrying our content, Brian. Ray Diedrich, former lawman.com, and Travis Sheets with lawofficer.com. Thanks to all those entities for helping make the show happen. And now, this is what we're going to be covering today, guys. We had 4 main topics lined up. I've got 3 set aside in case we have time to get those. Illinois sued over race-based payments. So yeah, we're still talking about that, but we're not in California this time. And then we got online post of a transgender teen surfaced after the Canada school shooting, and and wanting to be petite. There's a lot of information here. Some of it, I wasn't. It was out a little early, and I wasn't concerned. I was concerned with the vetting process, so I'm going to wait for some of that information to come out. But no, we've got some stuff, more than what we had yesterday when we covered it initially. And then Justin, now this is the title of the article. It says corrupt Judge Boasberg orders Trump admin to return Venezuelan illegals deported under the Alien Enemies Act, and that's from the Gateway Pundit. They're no fan of Judge Boasberg. I got to admit, most of America's not either. Seattle reaches a $29 million settlement with a family of a woman struck and killed by an officer that was en route to an emergency call, but there's some other stuff and some fallout because of that. We have a Miami officer fatally shooting an armed suspect near the Miami Edison Senior High School, and that was a female officer that shot him and did not want to, but she stepped up and did it. It affected her afterwards, but it shows the human side of this. Suspect fatally shot by Coolidge police officers when he charges at them with a machete. And then ICE shoots out the tires of a vehicle that tried to run over an officer in New Jersey. We've got a video showing a fallen officer fatally shooting a knife-wielding suspect after 2 people get stabbed. And finally, NYPD body cam shows a cop shooting a mentally ill Queens man that's charging at him with a knife. I think we could argue that any guy charging at a cop in Queens with a knife has got some kind of mental issue. So if you guys are ready, and we can take these out of order if you want to. I did want to cover this reparation story because it's still out there, and there's a lot of people concerned about it. And it stuff like this takes funding away from law enforcement. But I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, and someone here on the show might support it. But lawofficer.com, Illinois sued over race-based payments. A conservative watchdog group has filed a lawsuit challenging Evanston, Illinois. And I tell you, there may be people watching the show that say, well, if they're handing out cash, I'm heading to Evanston. They have a reparations program, and they're arguing that the city's eligibility rules amount to unconstitutional racial discrimination for race-based payments. Now, according to Fox News Digital, Judicial Watch says that it is actually suing to block the city from issuing additional payments. They've already been paying, and the payments are limited to Black residents, which is what's creating the stink here, and also certain descendants who lived in the Evanston area during a defined historical period. Now, the group's attorney, Michael Bakisha, he told Fox News the organization believes reparations should be tied to specific government wrongdoing and individual harm, and that the Evanston program, instead, it distributes money solely on the basis of being of race, of being Black. The city's reparations committee recently announced a new round. Now, that means they've been doing it already. And so a new round of $25,000 payments to 44 residents. It's not a huge town, but can you imagine being one of the 44 getting another payment? And this one's 25. The lawsuit filed on behalf of 5 plaintiffs contends that the program violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment because it requires race as a condition for receiving the public benefit. And also, Bakisha told Fox News that the plaintiffs are people who, but for the color of their skin, they would qualify for the payment. So these people are not Black, and because of that, they're not qualified to receive the $25K. The Evanston officials declined to comment, of course, and the outlet reported that 137 people have received payments so far, totaling how much? Almost $3.5 million, $3.47 million so far. They're still paying, with additional recipients expected later this year. The city officials have described the payments as housing-related assistance. Programs funding has been tied largely to the local revenue sources, including real estate transfer taxes and cannabis-related taxes, of all things. Yeah. All right, guys. Any commentary on this one? Kind of curious. We've got Ralph on the show, who's from California, which has been, talking about doing this for years. And I'm not sure how they roll in Colorado, Chief Schultz, except they do have cannabis over there. So I'll let you guys pick who wants to go first. Chief Ralph, why don't you start us off?
Well, first of all, I don't agree with reparation payments. And specifically, the lawsuit talked about they got to tie it to wrongdoing. But I believe that when you do that, it divides us even more so in a community and a city. And I could only imagine in the government of Evanston, I don't know what the population is, but it probably does divide people even more so because, how do you vet through what we're seeing, all the abuse of certain monies going to certain programs that we still haven't justified it. How do we justify if, Joel's getting, an extra $25,000? What is the justification behind that? And how was Joel being wrongly governed by the government or by the police department or something like that? So, I just think that it's kind of divides us more.
Well, let me throw some facts out there. First of all, Evanston was not incorporated until 1863. So and let me see, I look at my notes here. The population was abolitionist and pro-union, and out of 831 residents, 100 people fought for the Union and 13 died. So Evanston did its part to eradicate slavery. Politically, they have advocated for guaranteed annual income. They've enacted ordinances on climate action. So for being a small city of 78,000 with 11,000 Black residents and only 44 were eligible, I think it's a symptom of this politicization of racism. It's subtle racism. Oh, you poor Black folk. And granted, sacrifices in generational wealth, lack of voting rights, for many decades after the Civil War, not to mention slavery. So generationally, there are a lot of deficiencies. But to say you as a race did not have the capacity to recover in over 100 years, in many generations, And you also, as Congress is trying to prove, you don't have enough sense or ability to be able to get an ID. And so we dare not ask you for an ID for voting. And it's all part of this subtle trying to reel in of minorities that particularly one party or the liberal mindset wants to do because of the low expectations that you can buy support by apologizing for your white guilt. I think it's a travesty, and I think it is. I think it divides us, and I think it is race-based, which we ought to be over by now. I'm not saying that we don't have racism institutionally. It's certainly out there, discrimination in a lot of ways, but this is not a way to resolve it.
You know, if you look back at each ethnicity that came over. Look how the Irish were treated. I mean, when they came over from Ireland. I mean, some of the Irish people went over to fought with the Mexicans, you know, during that time, you know, the Mexican Civil War and stuff. They fought with the Mexicans against the United States because the United States wasn't treating the Irish well. You know, I mean, you look at some of the Italians that came over. I believe the statistic, there was more Italians hung in certain parts of the United States, in Louisiana and New York back in the day, you know, equally. But it's kind of saddens me when we have this, because it makes people look at each other in a skewed vision. And I think we shouldn't look like that, especially in this country. We had a president who was African-American, right? I mean, never thought that would happen. It happened. A vice president, you know, I mean, our country is a model for so many other countries across the world.
I agree. You know, Barack Obama, a black Muslim president, was elected, got the electoral and the popular vote 2 terms in a row. Don't talk to me about racism in America anymore. I don't want to hear it. I think that argument just flew out the window when that happened with Obama. And I'm not complaining. Now, because of his performance, I think it might be a little while until we have another black Muslim president because of the performance of Obama and how he really, in an opportunity to improve race relations in the country, oh my gosh, he set us back decades, in my opinion. But I do agree. I think that we have bred it out of a lot of them. You know, some people just the way they were raised. I mean, in Virginia, and you know, I mean, you know, today, you know, I just don't see it. And there may be some isolates, but I don't see, especially with law enforcement. You can't tell me that there's systemic racism for the most part. And you may have little breakers here and there, but systemic racism in law enforcement. I think that argument, I think that's falling on deaf ears because we just know better. The whole reparations, paying people that had nothing to do with the justification, you know, for the era where you're trying to, you know, to repair the harm, it just makes absolutely no sense. But people can decide how they want to spend their own money if they want to give it away. But at least the government stepping in and saying, if you're just making black the condition, then and you happen to live here, at least they're stepping in. So.
And Evanston was built on Potawatomi stolen land, so deal with that.
Well, I'm glad you did the research, Chief Schultz, so thank you. Hey, we're coming up on our first commercial break, guys. It's going to get a lot better, so stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, guys. You know, it's time to talk about our title sponsor, Galls at Galls.com. And as police officers, one thing we do really good, we love to buy gear. We love it. And when you throw the online option, it's like our choices are limitless. So here's what's really important here. I want to remind everybody, it's supporting the companies that actually support law enforcement. And I don't know of a company that does that better than Galls at Galls.com. I mean, even their motto is proud to serve those who serve, which of course they do in spectacular fashion. And not only that, they walk the talk by supporting dozens, and I mean dozens of focused organizations like this radio show. So when you're looking for gear, please support our title sponsor by going to Galls at Galls.com. And they're going to do you one better. For the loyal listeners of the show, they've got a radio code. It's radio15. It's a discount code. It'll get you 15% off of most purchases at Galls.com. Go to Galls.com today and use that radio15 code to get 15% off your next purchase. And hey, they've got gift cards. Hook up your family, friends, and loved ones with the new Galls gift card, and they will be your new best friends. You can do all that. They pretty much have everything but guns and ammo at Galls.com. Again, that is Galls.com. And we got 2 minutes before we come back to the radio portion of the show. All right, guys, off to a good start, I think.
Yeah.
When we come back, we can. I mean, I was going to go in order. We can do the. I think the transgender thing is definitely they weren't saying that yesterday, and so when we covered this yesterday, that the question mark was there because of the history of school shooters, most recently being transgender. But anyhow, it'll, but the female, if it was, if it was a female and then shooting and killing herself, that's a little unusual too. So, so this answers some questions that we had yesterday on yesterday's show. So I can't wait to cover it.
Hey, what about moving up the Miami shooting a little earlier? What do you think, Joel?
Let's see. Let me check my notes here.
Which story are you talking about?
Oh, near the high school, and he jumped the fence with the gal that got upset. Is that the one?
Yes, yeah. The detective Stephanie.
Give me a number. Update.
Number one video.
Okay, video 1. Okay. So you want to cover that one after we do the transgender shooter?
Yeah, I just thought mix it up, throw a curveball.
Okay. All right.
I know, Ralph, you want to cover the O'Fallon shooting because that's the one where they were playing "This Is How We Do It" in the background while they're shooting this guy.
Oh, I mean, and I was giggling when I heard that song. I'm telling you right now. This is how we do it.
All right, that was video 3. All right, well, we're 24 seconds out, so.
The New York City shooting, Joel and Chip, what really bothered me a lot was all the press that the Mandami went to visit Baba,
the bad guy,
the Baba in the hospital and stuff. And I'm sorry, but
10. I don't. Guys, going back to radio. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip DeBlock, and I'm your host, and we're a group of law enforcement professionals. And we've got Chief Joel Schultz on the show from Colorado, Chief Ralph Ornelas from California. And we just got done talking about reparations in Illinois and the challenge to that. So interesting topic to start off with. We're going to go in and jump into our shooting that happened, our mass shooting that happened in Canada. And it was a school shooting. And we covered it yesterday. We had some questions and we have answers to them now. So the sources for these stories, I've got 3 articles in a row: rvmnews.com, NewYorkPost.com, and then usatoday.com. The most encompassing article, the best one, is really going to be the third one, the USA Today. So I'll just give you the titles. The RVM News is online post of transgender teen surface after Canada school shooting, wanted to be petite. And there were some postings on there that I read about. I'm talking about the transformation and the weight and the appearance and all that stuff. Then we have nypost.com, and that one's transgender Canadian school shooter who slaughtered 8, including mom and stepbrother, seen holding rifle in an eerie photo. And then, of course, finally, USA Today, where I'm going to get the bulk of the information. I will tell you that from the second article that was in New York Post, it did give some interesting information that wasn't in the other ones. It said roughly 25 other people were wounded during the shooting. And of course, terrified teachers and students had to barricade themselves in classrooms for over 2 hours before they were escorted out of the school. So with that additional information, let's go and start with the third article, USA Today. A team with mental health issues killed 8 in Canada. But remember, I mentioned that we had 25 other people that were injured. It says that the shooter's been identified as an 18-year-old, and as my personal policy, I don't like to give out the names of these yahoos that do this stuff. But the person was born male. So when we covered it yesterday to being a female, but her committing, suicide, it ends up that it was really a dude, even though the article continues to identify him as a her. Let's just call it like it is. This guy started transitioning 6 years ago, identified as a female, according to the Deputy Commissioner Dwayne McDonald of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So I'm glad that we've got this Dwayne McDonald guy from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police that's kind of given the commentary on this and identifying stuff. And it looks like he's got his facts together at this news conference that happened on Wednesday. Police identified our bad guy using his chosen name. And it also goes on to say that on Tuesday, our guy killed his 39-year-old. I got to keep changing the her to him because it's just like these articles are so slanted. And my opinion, that's part of the problem. Everybody doesn't want to be offensive. They want to be politically correct, or you've got someone with mental health issues that's transitioned because of that, but they're still a dude. But they they're making the problem worse. It's almost like the reparation idea. Don't get me started. So this guy kills his 39-year-old mother and his 11-year-old stepbrother in their home, in the tiny area of Tumbler Ridge, about 700 miles north of Vancouver. And then he goes to Tumbler Ridge Secondary School and apparently began shooting at random. Now, I remember reading somewhere that he got kicked out of that school at one point, but I'm not seeing that anywhere in this stuff. He killed 5 people at the school. One was in a stairwell. The rest were in the library. The victims were a 12-year-old, I guess 3 12-year-old girls. We have a 12-year-old boy. I mean, golly, 13-year-old boy and a 39-year-old woman who worked as a teacher at the school. Police initially said there were 6 victims at the school, but corrected that to 5 on Wednesday, saying that a woman airlifted to the hospital was in critical condition and she was mistakenly counted among the dead. When police arrived within 2 minutes, which is good to hear, at the beginning of the shooting, our spokesperson, McDonald, said that our bad guy fired shots in their direction and that they ran inside the building. And then they found our bad guy dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. I'm sure he knew what was getting ready to go down. The cops were charging in, and it was just either him doing it or them doing it. They also recovered a long gun and a modified handgun from the scene. So remember that. That's going to come up in a second. In the last several years, police have responded to this guy's home on multiple occasions over concerns with his mental health. And it goes on to say that a couple years ago, police seized firearms from the home, and they were taken in, or bad guy was taken in for some mental health assessments under the Canada's Mental Health Act. And police last visited the home sometime last year, and they did not know if this guy was actively getting treatment for his mental health issues. And about the weapons seizure, it says that at a later point in time, the lawful owner of the firearms petitioned to get the guns back, and they were returned. We just don't know. We don't have clarification yet on whether these are the same guns that were used in the school shooting or not. But it raises some questions about like red flag logs and stuff too. Like what are they doing over there in Canada? He said that investigators have not found enough to shed light on the motives. Investigators don't believe that anyone specific was being targeted during the shooting, and they also believe that he acted alone. So that's what we have. We have about a little over 2 minutes, gentlemen. Chief Schultz, you want to start us off?
Yeah, we need to be careful to remember that with all the FBI and Secret Service studies, we have not found a profile of a school shooter. And so when we see somebody who's had gender identity problems or mental health problems or whose parents own firearms, we need to be careful to not generalize that too much. I'm disturbed. And there's a lot of discussion about this, and I don't know that we've reached a conclusion, except we're moving toward being very, very cautious to the point of prohibiting gender transition in early adolescence. So this individual was 18 at the time of the shooting, and they said he'd been in transition for 6 years. That means he started this at age 12.
That's an excellent point.
And I think you've got this Venn diagram of violent video games, gender confusion, adolescence, mental illness, isolation, and when it all comes together, this guy wants to make a name for himself, as many of them do, and is willing to allow himself to be destroyed because I'm very likely expected to die one way or the other in this attack. So it's all very disturbing. I'm not sure it really teaches us anything because all of these things are anomalous. And I will say one other thing, it says, they were huddled in a classroom. No American, anyway, in the U.S., no American child has been killed by a school shooter who was behind a locked classroom door. Protecting in place is the #1 strategy in response to an active harmer.
Good point. Well, look, excellent start on this. I know we're going to spend some time talking about this. And also Trump has said that we're bringing back mental institutions. And I see a tie in there. So I can't wait to go further down the rabbit hole on this one. It's time for a second commercial, guys. Break, guys. We'll be right back. All right, introducing Compliant Technologies at complianttechnologies.com, and they're committed to providing non-lethal solutions to help officers gain the upper hand safely and rapidly in a humane, low-ethics manner, utilizing their CD3, which stands for Conductive Distraction and De-escalation Technology. Their flagship product, we all know by now, is called the Glove. It's helped officers, I was going to say, tens of thousands of times, but now they're up to over 250,000 deployments with absolutely no injuries and no deaths. I mean, it's a crazy stat. And you heard me correctly, no injuries. They've actually achieved non-lethal status in an arena that predominantly can only offer less lethal results. And when it comes to weapons retention, transitioning to a sidearm or conductive energy weapon, the Glove at CompliantTechnologies.com, they virtually eliminated weapons confusion. So stay ahead of the game with Compliant Technologies and the revolutionary CD3 that hundreds of agencies have already turned to nationwide. And friends, take it from me, when it comes to safety, this is one of the most common sense, hands-on solutions that's ever come along. So go to CompliantTechnologies.com today and tell them that Chip sent you. Again, that is CompliantTechnologies.com. And we got 4 minutes now before we come back to the radio portion of the show. All right, moving right along.
Anybody doing anything for Valentine's Day that is exceptionally wonderful?
Well, it is tomorrow, I believe. And that, there's so many years that day just comes and goes. And my wife said, I went out and looked at the kitchen table, and I looked all through the house. I can't find anything. I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, what's she talking about? Then the light bulb goes off. So, yeah.
I gotta say, Joel did a great analysis of what he stated about this transgender and the shooting, and going back to 12 years old, changing, or whatever stage this person was in regards to changing, and it does affect their mental state of life. And the perspective of life, and maybe, but the other thing is this: I want to know, what was this person using any type of narcotics, drugs, marijuana to along this? Because when I oversaw the largest mental health jail in downtown Los Angeles, when I used to walk around the jails with the psychologists, psychiatrists, they would say these young men, I'm saying men now, okay, most of them abused marijuana to a level that caused them to commit crimes. And it does have psychotic and schizophrenic episodes in their life that could cause them to do certain things of violence. And so you brought up a lot of good different points, though, Joe, on it. I really appreciate it.
Well, I didn't mention that at least one article that he did experiment with hallucinogens. He was kind of into that, and I can't remember about the marijuana thing, but it's another factor. And the mom was a cheerleader for the transgender thing.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, if they let their 12-year-olds start transitioning, I guess so.
The common knowledge, which I think we're kind of getting over. You either endorse your child's transition, or they're going to kill themselves eventually, which is just a medical mythology that's arisen.
But also the fact, Joel, you look at the last 8 or 9 shootings that are committed in the United States of this nature in schools, and even the bar at that time, it was a person who was transitioning. And something. I mean, there's something there that the person is not secure within themselves, and it's sad because they need help in the beginning stages. And it's really sad because a lot of lost lives. Look at the school in Canada right now. How many? 6 kids killed, and 3 young girls, and 2 boys, and a teacher, and the mother and the stepbrother. It's sad.
Yeah, no doubt.
Adolescence is a transition. You got to let that play out. You can't over medicate it. You just have to let it, be supportive. Let it play out and counsel.
This here has caused a lot of problems with our youth, our cell phones, the iPhones.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's caused a lot of issues.
Yeah, the social media, you can, any kind of part of the panoply of human nature, both light and dark, you can find a support group that'll validate your feelings. So, this kid was in a trans chat, and, just got a lot of, go, you're doing the right thing. Not, let's wait and see if there's a deeper problem that you can address that might get you on a better path.
They're just kids. There's so many, as teenagers, there's so much stuff you just are unsure about, and all these kids go through, especially today. Do I like boys? Do I like girls? Do I like both? something wrong with that. There's so much going on in their heads. Hey, if we're going to get back into it, I'm starting the music. 10 seconds. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip DeBlock, and I'm your host. We're joined by Chief Ralph Ornelas, all the way from California, and Dr. Joel Schultz, retired police chief in Colorado. We've been talking about the mass school shooter in Canada that just happened, and although it wasn't readily apparent yesterday, today some of our questions are being answered because now we found out that this individual, yet another one, transgender, and we're getting some questions answered, and we're discussing that as well. Gentlemen, I know that I know the conversation is going to continue. I know that before we went to commercial break, just seconds before the commercial, I mentioned that President Donald Trump, I know I'm talking about the United States, but I see a tie-in. I started my law enforcement career in 83. And you guys, I know I'm preaching to the choir in this, but I'm saying this for the benefit of the people that are watching and listening to the show. When I came on in 83, there were a lot of mental health facilities around the country. And we in Florida, we call it a Baker Act, but if people were a threat to themselves or someone else, we could take them down for a hold and an evaluation. But besides that, there were a lot of other opportunities we had to just get people the help they need. Now, look, we still institutionalize people with mental health issues, but that institutionalization is in prisons. That's where it is. They're not getting the help they need. So when President Trump recently came out, and I think that, I think he used the word insane asylums, which is whatever, but it's really the mental health facilities. He's talking about getting the people that need the help they need. And this is what we should have never gone away from that. And was it Reagan, guys, that got us?
Reagan.
Yeah. So I'd like that you guys, tell me your thoughts on this, or maybe do a tie-in. I know we're talking about Canada, but again, Chief, I got to admit, Chief Schultz brought up a good point. I realized that our bad guy was 18, and they said that he started transitioning 6 years ago. But in my head, I didn't do the math. 12 years old. And he shot and killed his mother and the stepbrother, but the mother who seems to have allowed him at the age of 12 to make the decision, or to back his decision to start doing this stuff. And these kids, and we know kids are just, there's so many adults that just don't have their stuff together. As a kid, you're not even there yet. And to make a permanent decision like that, and of course we've seen some of these things go south. But I also have to say, I don't want to throw a blanket like the Chief Schultz mentioned earlier about throwing a blanket. Look, I understand. I know some people and have business dealings with people that are trans, and I don't know. It's not really my business, but I don't know the background. I know that at birth there were other things that come into play here, that situations could be different. You can be a baby born with sexual organs and from both sides, and the doctors have to make a call on which way you're going to go. They do chromosome tests and all kinds of things. I know that there's a lot of things in there that we're not going to cover on the show, and we're not supposed to, and we're not the experts on it. But we would be lying or doing you guys a disservice if we did not acknowledge the apparent fact that there appears to be an issue, probably tied to mental health, with people transitioning, especially at these young ages, and that we would just be doing a disservice if we didn't say that there's probably a connection there, and that it needs to be looked into. But that's for the betterment of the people that are. I view this person. I think it's unfortunate that this 18-year-old. I view him as a victim too. This stuff I think could have been prevented. It's just unfortunate that some of the laws in countries like the U.S. or formerly in the U.S. and Canada allow this stuff to happen. But I'm going to stop talking. Chief Ralph, you got the floor.
No, you said a lot, and I think Joe set a good stage with his whole statement, what he mentioned. But, I like to look back on this family. What were the calls for service that they went to? Was there any violence in those type of calls that the police department could have inserted themselves to be able to approach this issue in a different manner? And then the other thing I think we mentioned off, when we were on a break, what was this individual, her, use of drugs and marijuana. I'd like to know some of that. And then also Dr. Joel mentioned about, and I'll add to it, is about all the gore videos this person had. So if you put a couple things together, the mental state about transitioning, potentially using certain narcotics, hallucinogens, and then also all these gore videos, what does that play on the mind? And then also the insecurities inside on that, it creates, I believe, a little bit of a disdain and maybe dislikes of certain people and stuff. And, it saddens me that we lost, 8 lives, and a person that maybe could have had more help, and maybe been arrested preceding this in a different time frame when the police could have went there and arrested this person. And I don't know how much more time, but the thing about it is this, audience and Chip and Joel, running a mental health jail like I have, walking through the jails with psychiatrists and psychologists, I'm telling you something, we need to have a different system to treat these people with mental health breakdowns. And the other thing, I'm diverting a little bit here, the use of marijuana today, these psychologists and psychiatrists have told me, it is having a very negative impact on our male population. And I look at the jail that I was running, a lot of them committed some violent crimes because of overuse of marijuana. I'll divert to Dr. Joel.
Well, I got to agree with the pot thing. It just seems at the very time that research is finding out. Of course, research had been limited because it was hard to get the drug for the research because it was a class 1 substance up there with heroin. But at the very time research is making this connection between retarded brain development and schizophrenia and, lung disease and impurities, we finally convinced the American public that smoking tobacco was bad, but marijuana apparently has some kind of health value. And it's really a big lie. I call it Big Mary. There's a lot of money behind the push to legitimize and legalize marijuana. And I'm pretty much a libertarian on that side of the political spectrum. But to say, what you're doing in your own home is your own business. Yes, but no man's an island. Whatever you do eventually affects me. If I have to end up paying for your treatment, or if you're losing productivity, or you're screwing up your family, or you're driving while you're high because, it's been a while. And this parallel between alcohol and marijuana really has its limitations. You can sober up in 12 hours, but marijuana is fat soluble. It's going to stay in your system and build up. And it's just much more evil than we're giving it credit for. And I hope the science catches up with the politics of it. But thank you for that. And Ralph, first of all, I appreciate your, I think you said that LASO had the largest penal institution in the country. Is that right, in terms of population?
Yes. For a jail, not a prison, for a jail.
For a jail. And so, you have been a de facto mental health worker. You've dealt with the whole spectrum of people who are out of their minds and disturbed and addicted and going through withdrawal. I think every cop ought to spend 6 or 12 months working in corrections. I wouldn't want to do it. It's not my cup of tea, but there's so much to learn. So much to learn.
Well, for your audience, I just want everybody to know this. If Ralph Ornelas is arrested and comes to the Los Angeles County Jail System Inmate Reception Center, okay, right away, there's a psychologist with a deputy sitting down and asks 20 questions. They ask a bunch of questions about mental health issues. I mean, they dissect it apart because we have to know where we're going to place these inmates in certain parts of the jail. And so, it's not only this, if they feel that Ralph Ornelas has some mental health issue, they right away put them on a certain regime of medication to try to control them while they're inside the jail. So, people don't realize what the extensiveness of the evaluation of the psychologists and psychiatrists, along with the deputy sheriffs at the jail, what they do and the questioning and vetting through the inmates. And they even questions about gangs and, are they connected with certain gangs or not, in Mexican mafia. So anyway, go ahead, Chip.
No, I think it's a great discussion. I mean, we could really do an entire show on this. anyhow, these people obviously there's help that they're not getting. I would like them to have the opportunity to do that. And so I think we all agree. In fact, I think that most of us would be willing to pay on the front end as opposed to paying on the back end. And I'm talking about, I don't have kids, but I don't mind paying in that. I mean, I'm paying over $2,500 a month. I've said it many times for freaking healthcare with me and my wife and no kids. So I don't mind paying to help people get the help they need, because then it's less law enforcement. It's less this, less that. Catch it on the front end before all this damage is done. And I think that most of us would agree on that. So if you guys are ready, let's go to our I'm going to whet the appetite for the video story that you wanted us to cover there, the video number 1 in Miami. So at rumble.com, our favorite law enforcement video channel called This Is Butter, and I've only got seconds here, so I'm just going to whet the appetite here. We have a Miami officer fatally shot an armed suspect near a Miami school. It's the Edison Senior High School. It's a female officer chasing the bad guy that ends up reluctantly having to shoot him. She did not want this to happen. She's overcome emotionally afterwards. Stick with us. We're going to cover that. We'll be right back. All right, guys, it's time to talk about GunLearn at gunlearn.com. It's law enforcement officers. We deal with guns and we deal with ammunition every day. It's what we don't know about them that gets us into trouble. Injuries, civil lawsuits, accidental discharges, misidentifications, lost prosecutions, and disciplinary issues. But gunlearn.com, they have your back. You can quickly become extremely firearm knowledgeable by simply learning 14 training modules from the convenience of your home or your office, or by attending the live seminar at gunlearn.com. You can also become a safe, accurate, and competent certified firearm specialists like our very own Captain Brett Bartlett and also attorney Ken Appianco. Now, the course has had huge success in raising the bar of firearm knowledge, and GunLearn has been a trusted source since way back in 2011 by gun manufacturers, federal agencies, forensic organizations, and even police departments nationwide. Now, the founder, Dan Kelly, has got a deal for you if you have your own agency. If you're chief or sheriff, you can host a seminar for absolutely no cost. It's an amazing opportunity. You can go to gunlearn.com to get more information. Again, that is gunlearn.com. And we got 2 minutes before we come back to the radio portion. And we should have enough time to cover at least that first video. I would like to briefly mention, the guy that made the comment about the chick being run over by the cop that was headed towards it was really a non-emergency call, but they were making some callous jokes about, cut the check now and she's not worth it or whatever. So
that was Seattle, the $29 million settlement.
Yeah. I would like to mention that just because we've covered that a couple times on the show back from day one. And we were all, I think somebody on the show said, I think Randy Sutton said, write the check. I think he said that, so yeah. So I'd like to just remind people.
When you first of all, even the shooting of this Miami, officers have to always remember they're being recorded by their partners or themselves on these body-worn cameras. And, they have to control. This is where I always say, I teach, it's hard, but you have to control your emotions. You have to control your emotions in tough, high-risk situations.
Yeah. Well, look, our sense of humor, so when I heard cut the check or I know what cop humor is. There's some things that you would not want the general public to hear you say because it sounds like you're insensitive but you know what being exposed to all this crap does to you. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir too, but you know how it does desensitize you to so many things that I would rather people not know when I'm in those environments where, I pulled over and there's some guy in the interstate and he's, gurgling and dying and stuff. I would never want people to know what's running through my head, how I'm thinking. There people are, working on him and he's losing more fluid than than what they're trying to save. And it's just, that stuff's just kind of pointless, but here we go. Back to the show. All right, guys, welcome back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip the Block. We're joined by Chief Ralph Ornelas, all the way from California, and also Dr. Joel Schultz, retired police chief in Colorado. And, we're talking about, and I just whet the appetite on it before we went to commercial break. Miami officer fatally shot an armed suspect near Miami Edison Senior High School. This is at rumble.com, our favorite law enforcement video channel called This Is Butter. And so there's this new body cam video available. It's a fatal police shooting in Miami. And it happened back in 2023. And prosecutors say that the officer was legally justified in the killing. I don't think there's been ever any doubt about that. And the footage was released this week after the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office determined that the shooting that happened on October the 11th back in 2023, that it was justified. And it was a 20-year-old bad guy, Arnesius Xavier Odom Jr. Now, according to a February 3rd closeout memo from the state attorney's office, they're kind of shutting the case down. Odom and another man, they were seen jaywalking. So that, I know that sounds minor, but guys, they're wearing ski masks and hoodies. Okay, so that jacks it up a little bit. And think back to the day where, I mean, you know, COVID came around 2020, so there are some people that are used to seeing people wearing masks and stuff. But I'm telling you where I'm at and where I roll, you know, you can't just mask up anywhere. We've got ordinances and laws against that, depending on where you live. But, you know, you don't want people walking around with ski masks and hoodies that are, you know, getting ready to walk in and out of a bank with money, you know. So the detective approaches the people, the two guys. The other man was found with a loaded gun in his pants. So good stop. And Odom fled on foot, and now there's a pursuit. So our female Miami, she's actually the detective, Stephanie Canizares. She's got a body cam running. She's chasing this bad guy named Odom, and she's got her weapon drawn. So at one point, our guy who's ahead of her, he gets to a fence, and it's the school fence. It's school property, and this is every cop's worst nightmare. And you know, we've seen this before. The dude tosses a gun over the fence, jumps the fence. Now he's on school property. You're on the other side of the fence, and if there's kids or whatever, you know, we don't want what happened just happened in Canada to happen here, right? So he does that, throws the gun over, jumps over, and she sees that it's a gun, it's on the ground, and she tells him not to pick it up. He does it anyhow, and that's when she shoots and she kills him. And she's obviously distraught over it. And and the cops she's saying, I told him not to go for the gun. And she's talking to the other officers as they're jumping the fence and trying to give the guy first aid. And I'm glad someone told her to stop talking, because, you know, that's, you know, everything's being recorded, and, you know, you're really not in control of everything, you know, and your head's not clear. So whoever told her to stop talking did a good job, did her a favor. And I'm just kind of looking at my notes. I know that if you fast forward to 2 minutes and 14 seconds in, which is well after this, you can see how distraught she is. Even at 13:15, she's like in a vehicle, and another officer's got his body cam on. She puts her hand over it. She just feels horrible about what happened. But that does show the human component to everything that we do. We do bring a human component into that. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I know it makes me feel good that it bothered her that much, because, you know, we know cops don't want to kill bad guys. They don't want to kill anybody. But, you know, to see that emotion, but it did not keep her from doing the right thing. Commentary on this, guys? Ralph, why don't you start us off? It's Miami. You have all your peeps down there. I need somebody with an open mic to start talking, please.
I love the music down in Miami. Well, you know, first of all, it's justified shooting. I had an issue with the fragmented video, and you know, I mean, put aside justified, but I look at the video from the beginning, Joel and Chip and audience, and I see the male partner in front of her on the side of the vehicle, and then she's right next to him. And tactically, I mean, if I was working with Joel, if Joel's the lead person, I'll let him get the driver's side. I would go on the passenger side. This way we can look from different angles what's going on inside the car. And then all of a sudden, you know, you get the foot pursuit, right? And then all of a sudden you see the partner who's all tattooed up. He stops the other guy, handcuffs him, secures him, gets a gun at him, and she's ready down into the field, and she gets involved in the justified shooting. My question is, how did that all break? How did it get all fragmented? You know, it kind of didn't flow right to me.
Well, they did. I know what happened. They didn't want a 20 or 25-minute video. They knew most people weren't going to watch that. And you know, in the beginning, they showed the cop going back to this Jeep to search the Jeep after leaving the bad guy's car, and that's when they bailed out of the car. And so then the person in the Jeep, the partner, goes and grabs one of the bad guys, but the female that end up doing the shooting. She's rolling up in a car right when this chase starts to happen. She bails out and she's in a foot chase. So that's what ended up happening. But during the foot chase, before she reaches the bad guy while he's jumping over the fence, you can see a cool car coming up and cutting cutting between her and the bad guy that's jumping the fence. And I'm assuming that's one of the guys that came out, jumped the fence, and went and gave him first aid until he died. So, but I guess it's for brevity, for the video, so people, who have short attention spans don't have to go through the whole thing. So, but it was a little confusing.
Yeah, it was just fragmented there. And the other thing I saw is like people are stepping over. There's the evidence of the weapon, and everybody's trying to give first aid to the suspect. And finally, I think the guy with the tattoos, who was the lead partner on that, hey, he's told somebody, stand over with your feet to secure that weapon there, because before the paramedics can come. So it was kind of convoluted how they put that video together. That's all. But other than that, I think it's a justified shooting. The young lady, she was distraught. I believe she felt terrible, but she had to do what she had to do.
Yeah.
I thought, again, just from the video, the first thing that I saw was the vehicle contact. And I thought that the partner was a trainee, being real close there at the driver's side. But it's a robbery detail, right? And they're robbery suspects. That seems like that should have been a major felony takedown from the get-go.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure. That seemed a little casual to me. And fortunately, the female officers, the shooter, nothing she said was incriminating. I think it will look good to a jury. You're sorry you had to do it. You gave them plenty of warning, school property, all those kinds of things. And I'll just, as an aside, Chip, I talked the other day about some of the gear that I wore in my later years on patrol, including an athletic cup. If you're trying to jump a fence, you can pivot right on that thing and get right on over. So just again, little clue for the rookies out there. And the other thing that struck me, we've seen so many OISs where the person is dying, and I'm always impressed by the bravery and persistence of officers to try to save this person's life. But I think all three of us here knows what that death rattle, last gasping sound is like. So we knew he was, those of us that have been around, we knew he was a goner.
Yep.
But they continue to. And it's unfortunate that first chest patch for the lung puncture wound was expired, and he got it all, tangled up like it was a fly trap or something like that. Just a little aside. Keep up on your equipment, watch those expiration dates, know where the stuff is in your bag. And I also still have concerns about being in foot pursuit with the gun out in your hand. It's just, I don't know if there's any way around it. I don't think you're missing too much time wise by keeping it holstered until the time to bring it out, or at least keep it in some kind of low ready position. But fleeing felon, all the elements were there, justified shooting. So I hope that she's fine. She had a very supportive team. And the supervisor, whoever the main guy was that took over the first aid and asked for the stuff and preserved the evidence and told her to shut up, basically. He's got it together. He was a class act.
You're right. You're right.
Real quick, guys, globalordinancenews.com. Seattle reaches $29 million settlement with a family of a woman struck and killed by an officer en route to an emergency call. Just real quick, 23-year-old graduate from India struck by Seattle cop as she's crossing the street in 2023. She's hit by Officer Kevin Dave. He's driving 74, responding to a drug overdose call. His emergency lights were on and he'd been using a siren at intersections. It's the comments that got him in the trouble. It says that the officer laughed and suggested that her life had limited value and the city could just write a check. And then the officer Daniel Ardour, the union leader, they said that he damaged the department's reputation and stuff. And I guess it was the other officer's body cam that caught the guy saying that. And so there's been some firings and some other stuff. We've only got like 10 or 15 seconds. Anybody want to mention anything about that?
Go ahead, Joe.
Worst advice ever: be yourself. You can't be yourself. You're on stage.
That's right. I was going to say the same thing. Exactly.
Chief Schultz and Chief Ornelas, thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate it. Guys, next week, Monday through Monday, producer Will's putting some special stuff together for you. A week from Tuesday, we'll be back live, so make sure you watch the show, and thanks for your support. Shout out to Galls.com, CompliantTechnologies.com, Gunlearn.com, Medicare.live, Safeway Recruiting, and TwoBells.com. We'll see you guys back Monday, 12 noon Eastern, for that special show producer Will's putting together. And we're going to keep it going for about another minute and a half. Yep, I will be in Dahlonega. Well, actually, I'll be in St. Augustine first. I'll be there Monday through Thursday, and then I'll be headed over to Dahlonega, Georgia, visiting my two favorite distilleries. So St. Augustine and Big Creek in Dahlonega. So I can't wait.
That's great.
Ralph, when are you going to be on Fox News?
Whenever. I'm waiting. You know,
we got to have it.
Brady Sutton's got to die first, basically, before I ever make it on Fox News. Okay.
you know, as I always say back in New York, you have to have a rabbi pull in for you. You have to have, I mean that in a positive sense. You have to have an advocate, But no, Randy does a great job. I like Paul Morrow out there too. He does a great job. And,
all our guys. I'm Darren Porcher. I'm from New York, retired NYPD lieutenant. He's been all over the news cycle. Randy Sutton. I know Jeff Wenninger's been doing some more in the local scene, but a lot of new stuff. On this, this kidnapping, abduction, whatever it ends up being. So,
Lance LaRusso was on. I've seen him on Court TV. I think more than once.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, where is our Jeff? I gotta talk. I gotta call Jeff up. I gotta talk to him.
Jeff Wenninger?
Yeah. I got to give him a call. I miss talking to him, but I thanks a lot, guys. I really enjoyed being on here today again. Once again, Joel and Chip, and it's fun topics.
Well, hey, let me just remind everybody about that still watching the show on the stream, and streamers, thanks for watching. I know we got Eric Tessier, and I don't remember seeing his name before on Facebook, and also Paul Bogart, Paul Humphrey Bogart, and thanks for watching the show. We appreciate it. And we are doing the glove challenge. So anyone that's interested in winning a free pair of the gloves from Compliant Technologies, all you have to do is go to thewoundedblue.org and you make a donation either in my name or Travis Yates' name. We both got gloved during SHOT Show, and they're going to release the results of that. We were both trying to see who could comply the not comply the longest. And so whoever did not comply the longest while getting the glove activated on you, they win a free pair of gloves. And then the person that donates to the Wounded Blue the most amount of money in the winner's name, in my name or Travis's name, you actually win a pair of gloves too. They can only be owned by an agency. So if you're active, you give it to your agency. You should be able to carry them. If not, you give it to the agency of your choice. Like if I end up winning, I'll end up donating them to the Tampa Police Department, and hopefully get more through the front door of the Tampa Police Department so they can start carrying the glove. And so that's the way it works. So you can go and get more information about the contest at thewoundedblue.org, and just simply go under the events section. You will see all the information there. If you want to watch the video, it's not up at the Wounded Blue yet. But if you want to watch the video, just go to any one of our sites. I'm talking about the Leo Roundtable. Go to our Rumble page, our Facebook pages, go to our LinkedIn page. You will find it posted there, and I'm going to try to get it on the main page of the website today, where I have a link to it. If you go to leoroundtable.com, I'll try to put it on the main page and just leave it there for the week that I'm gone. So, any final words? Anything involving fentanyl or anything, Chief Ralph?
No, I got a couple of presentations coming up, and be working with another company pretty soon here to do some more presentations for his company around the state of California. That's about it. All
right. Excellent. I love it. Well, gentlemen, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Streamers, we're going to let you guys go. We appreciate the support. MVS and everybody over. $29 payout. It should be $5 million. I agree, MVS. He's not happy with what went on in Seattle. So we'll see you guys when I get back. And don't forget to watch the stuff that Will's putting together for you.